Hello and welcome to the Dr. Kyra Show. We're continuing our Leading During COVID series because we've had a lot of requests from you all in terms of different topics that are pressing, and we'll keep up to date with the different things as this pandemic unfolds that we need to be thinking about as leaders. So today we're going to talk about mental health and substance abuse or substance use in populations or teams that you might be leading. So there's a lot of memes and jokes right now around, drinking wine at 1 p.m. during the workday and those kinds of things. And some of that's fun and light fare, but it also indicates something pretty serious that's going on, which is that people are upping their wine intake, their alcohol intake, what other kind of self-medication that they do. And that's really going to hurt them long term. And you, as a leader, you may also be struggling with this. And so it's amazing to me that, there is this sort of mass need to cope. And we're kind of caught off guard as a society as to how to cope with such rapid disruption, such uncertainty all at once. And our reaction is to immerse ourselves in comfort food and substances and self-medicate. Now again, I'm not coming from a place of judgment at all. It's more just like the long game. It's more, this isn't good for your body, this isn't good for your mental health, this isn't good for your relationships, all those things. And I mean you as the leader, you as the team, all of it. So we can actually do something about this. And I wanted to just help you to kind of have a framework for how to take action in a way that actually works. There's basically two things going on. So one is that there is a lack of, being able to be relaxed. There is a lot of activity that is triggered off in our brains at this time of uncertainty, whether that's the news, whether that is unemployment spiking, whether that is the latest antics of politicians, whatever the case may be. What that does to your brain is it basically triggers off a rumination cycle, meaning that you start to ruminate on it, you start to worry about it, is kind of the common term of it. But you also can ruminate on things like, am I okay? Am I safe? Is my job safe? Am I doing the right thing? How do I help other people? Those kinds of ruminative activities in the brain actually create the first category, which is diseases of rumination. And this is a more modern way of looking at psychology and looking at mental health. Diseases of rumination include anxiety, depression, OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder, and at the far end of the scale, PTSD, because that's like rumination that will not stop no matter how much voluntary control you try to put on it. So those all have that one mechanism in common, which is rumination. And the cure is actually multi-layered. There's many things that can help with rumination. For example, you could have mindfulness, which has been clinically proven to help with rumination. And many think that that's part of the reason why you do see some effect in depression, anxiety, and alleviating the symptoms with mindfulness. Another thing is sensory type of experiences. So exercising, being able to, focus on how you feel sensation-wise, massages, being in a swimming pool, being outside, being outdoors, those kinds of things. Speaking of that, nature has been shown to be an incredibly potent anti-rumination medication. Just being outside for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, even 5 minutes helps to shift your brain out of that rumination state. So I'm not making light of the fact that sometimes we do need, pharmaceutical support for these types of symptoms. But for the vast majority of people, doing these other sort of practices to interrupt their rumination actually would take them very far along getting a lot of relief. The second category that we're dealing with the mental health, and especially during all the lockdown that we've been through, is oxytocin. So oxytocin is equal to dopamine in terms of its potency and its participation in what we call reward pathways in the brain. It makes you feel rewarded and happy, makes you feel satisfied. It's actually released a lot with this comfort food that we're eating. So we're eating all this food and we really are just wanting the oxytocin. So the medicine that we're going after is the oxytocin. And the reason why it's low is because usually we get oxytocin off of seeing people in person, smiling at them, having them smile back at us, giving them hugs, all that sort of contact we get some oxytocin off of. And so what we're really hungry for is this oxytocin level to go back up. And there's a couple ways to do this. Again, good old nature. So going outside and being outdoors, there are ways that really helps us to feel connected to things. Oxytocin is a little different than dopamine in that it creates that sense of bonding and connection. And so a lot of this, sort of tribalism that we're seeing around certain views or certain dichotomy, this versus that, those kinds of things are oxytocin mediated. People are getting their oxytocin by forming a gang of people like them who believe what they believe. So another way to do that, though, a more healthy way to do that, is to be generous and to give of your time and your resources, to support other people through random acts of kindness. Those kinds of things give us a natural form of oxytocin as well and help to elevate our sense of well-being and mental health. Again, I'm not undercutting sometimes the need for pharmaceutical support for our mood and for our mental health and for even substance use, but a lot of this can be alleviated by knowing what the underlying reasons are that we're doing these things and being able to do more natural solutions and more natural practices for getting the oxytocin we need, getting the dopamine we need, and basically getting ourselves out of our rumination pain and the rumination hell that we've created for ourselves. So I hope this gives you a lot of inspiration to kind of get out of that and to also help your teams, the people that you lead, to think of it differently too. I'll see you next time.